I was 14 years old when I discovered that I was an intersex person. I had to do an ultrasound to look at my female reproductive organs, and the doctor told me that he couldn't see anything. I immediately started crying. I didn't want to date boys at that point because it's scary to just tell them I was an intersex person. My current boyfriend, we've been together a year.
My mother, she was very cautious at the beginning. She did always know I wanted to have kids. So she was like, are you sure?
I think I was 11 years old when I started really doing my makeup and that kind of things. I always really felt feminine, I think, because I also just grew up with the idea that I was a girl. I'm Joyce, I'm 21 years old and I'm an intersex person. Girls have XX chromosomes, boys have XY chromosomes. I have androgen insensitivity syndrome, what basically means that I have XY chromosomes, but because I'm 100% insensitive to androgens or testosterone, I developed as a woman in the uterus. I identify as a female. I always felt like a female. So when I got my diagnosis, at first I was a bit struggling with my own identity. I was like, am I a boy? Am I a girl? I was 14 years old when I discovered that I was an intersex person. It was of course for all of us a shock because we didn't know what it was. I've never heard of intersex before I was diagnosed, and also my parents didn't know what it was. Is this me? Yeah.
Yeah.
And how old was I here?
7.
Yeah. And at this age, I think I was also really tall already, right?
Yes, you were always tall.
When I was younger, I went to the pediatrician regularly to get a checkup on how tall I was growing. I also had really a lot of pain in my back because I was growing so much. And I always was really, really tired.
I always thought there was something happening, but I didn't know what it was.
I went to the pediatrician with my mom for just a checkup, and then they discovered that my hormone levels were really high. I needed to do an ultrasound to look at my female reproductive organs, and the doctor told me when he was doing the ultrasound that he couldn't see anything. So that was a really big shock to me, and I immediately started crying and had an awful day that I will always remember. I think just afterwards, my diagnosis, that was just the most confusing and negative time.
At the beginning we are worried because we didn't know what intersex was. And we heard you can't have children of your own and you are so good with children. So yeah, we worried about that.
At that time I was in the middle of puberty and really finding out who I was as a person. So when I got my diagnosis, it was kind of difficult for me. It was just a really hard time for all of us. But I have amazing family and they were just really accepting and helping me also with all of the things that I went through at such a young age.
You know, there are good days and there are bad days.
Of course, but that's the funny thing with intersex. You can accept yourself, but you always will have part of your life that it is harder that you have a diagnosis. Because I see friends of mine that are gonna get pregnant and will have children, and I will be not able to have those kind of things. Sometimes it will hurt a little bit more.
I understand. That's why I'm so proud of you, because you've been a strong woman now about this.
Ik vond het wel wat. Kijk, zie je daar hebben. Hey. My current boyfriend I met on a dating app. We've been together a year. In the middle of puberty, I saw a lot of my friends started dating boys, and I was just somewhere else with my head. I didn't want to date boys at that point. It was really scary to just tell them I was an intersex person. But then I started to put that all on my social media. So I never had to tell them face to face. So that was always a really safe place for me to just keep the distance a little bit.
Hey. Now let's go take the dogs for a walk, yeah?
I know he told a friend of his that he was matched with me on Tinder and that I'm an intersex person. And he was like, do you think I should go on a date with her? But then the friend told him like, of course, just go on a date with her. You don't know what's gonna happen and maybe you really like her.
Before you meet with some people, you go look them up online and you go and you try to find something about them, and it happened to be when I googled Joyce, but it's not something that held me back. I was planning on telling my parents. My sister is also a very nosy person just like me, and she was looking up Joyce, and my mother googled her as well, so they found out through that way. They were like, hey, is there anything you want to tell us? And I was like, not particularly. Because it's not like I'm ashamed or anything, but it's just like how it's quite a delicate subject sometimes. Like, how do I introduce it properly without like a stigma or anything around it?
So of course me and Gus can't have children of our own in the future because I don't have any female reproductive organs. But yeah, I still have a big wish to maybe be a mom in the future. So we discussed that we can adopt or have children through surrogacy.
My mother, she was very cautious at the beginning. She didn't always know I wanted to have kids, and so I'm quite a family person. And so she was like, are you sure? Just being a cautious parent, just warning me like, hey, have you really thought well and clear about it? But the most important thing is that you also become a parent with someone who you truly love and share a special bond with. So yeah, that's Joyce for me. Yeah.
Intersex is always being a really big taboo. I would wish that all the people knew about what intersex just basically is, so that other people that are diagnosed as an intersex person, they would see that it wasn't just really a big thing to be intersex.
I think the main reason for the stigma is people just do not understand what it entails, and if people do start to understand what it entails, it will lead to so much less confusion and maybe to perhaps more acceptance. Our relationship's like any other. It's not different from previous ones I've had, but it is possible to have a normal, meaningful relationship with someone who's intersex.
A lot of people still feel ashamed about being intersex because there wasn't being spoken about. So there are a lot of intersex persons that don't want to tell their story, so I hope my story reaches them and they see you can just talk about it and it's fine to just be who you are.